If you are feeling anxious or depressed about the impact of coronavirus, whether it's on your job, your finances, your future, I want to invite you to join me now for an infusion of hope. I want to ensure you that you can survive this. Not only can you survive this, but you can actually set yourself up for success so that you will thrive. Your future is not ruined. Your life is not over. I know some of you are facing layoffs and you've either already been laid off or you're about to be laid off tomorrow or in the coming week. Some of you have been furloughed. You've got all these different things hanging in the air and you don't know what you're going to do. I'm going to give you a blueprint to walk through that is going to help you get through this. It's going to help you be able to sleep well at night. Look, some people are going to build massive wealth through this thing. They are. They're actually salivating. They cannot wait for all of this infrastructure and stuff to crumble so they can go in and scoop up the pieces of people's lives and make money. If I'll be honest with you, I intend to make a lot of money too, although not quite by scooping up people's lives. I mean, I intend to work with people to help them survive this, and in turn, I will build wealth. Like Dave Meltzer says, I'm going to have a lot of fun helping a lot of people and making a lot of money. Nothing wrong with that, okay? And a lot of people out there, the greater bulk of the people out there are going to be okay. You know, they've put some preventative measures in place with their life. They've lived by some pretty established financial principles. They're going to weather this storm and they're going to be okay. You'll still, if you're in that category, you'll still get a lot out of this video. But this video, the heart of this video and the next coming 4 after it in this 5-part series is really designed for the people who are looking around and feeling like this is going to ruin them. If you feel like this is going to ruin your life, this is going to ruin your future, then these videos are for you. And that's why I'm making them available free of charge. Now, what we're going to do during this time, this is my gift to you to help you weather this storm. I am going to start making some of my classes on buildingwealthtogether.com free. We always have one free class, but I'm going to go through and I'm going to make the others free. Now, I'm still going to be respectful of those who have paid into certain classes, okay? But we're going to make a way for you to earn your way into those at no cost for you, all right? Because I think everybody needs access to this information so that they can survive this pandemic, all right? There are people, like I said, who are going to build wealth. There are people who are going to be okay. There are people that are going to struggle, but they'll recover. But then there are also people who the decisions that they make over the next month or so are going to ruin their family tree for generations. And I don't want anybody under the sound of my voice to be part of that group. So I want you to join me for these classes, okay? Join me for 5 weeks of lessons that are going to equip you to emerge from this pandemic financially victorious, okay? They're also going to be broadcast as a special series on our Wealth Building Wednesdays, which is part of the Building Wealth Together podcast, all right? We're going to add those to a special class that's going to be on my buildingwealthtogether.com page. As soon as I get done with this, we'll create the class. We're going to have a lot of free tips on there. So it's going to be a no-cost class. And it's going to be full of extra things that you're not going to get on Facebook. For example, I'm going to show you how to get 1 meal out of 6. I'm going to show you how to hunker down and make sure that you can take care of yourself. Now, here's the thing. Before we get into the meat of today's lesson, one of the reasons that I'm doing this is that in order to build wealth and to build a financial legacy for you and your family, we have to be abundance-minded. But the problem is when we have a situation like this, everybody's freaking out. Everybody's getting to be scarcity minded. People are already starting to try and steal groceries, and we haven't even hit the worst of this yet. Okay? I need you who want to build wealth. I need you who want to change your life. I want you who don't want to be stressed out about money 5 years from now. I want you to walk in an abundance mindset. And in order to move from the scarcity mindset to the abundance mindset, you need to know that you can take control of your life and that this will be okay. That's what these 5 classes are designed to do. Again, I'm JJ Conway. I want to welcome you to a very special live recording of the Building Wealth Together podcast. We are doing a 5-week series that will equip you to emerge from this pandemic financially victorious. Tonight, we're going to do part 1, which was originally billed as 5 steps to make sure you survive COVID-19 financially. But actually, when I got to thinking about it, there's actually 7 steps that I'm going to share with you today. Part 2 was 5 ways your business can emerge victorious from COVID-19. That's going to be next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel. And part 3 is going to be 5 investments to make to protect yourself from the next pandemic. All right. So you definitely want to be in on that. You don't have to feel like you're scared or afraid, anxious, worried ever again about these kinds of things. All right. Part 4 is going to be 12 ways to replace your income in just 1 year. That's one part of preparing for the next big thing. And then the last one, some of you have loved this. It's been one of my favorite webinars to teach. Is going to be JJ's Joy into Wealth process, how to monetize your passions and stay true to you. One thing you're going to find throughout all of this is that whether you're self-employed or under a W-2 or a contract or whatever form you make your money in, I'm a huge proponent of multiple streams of income. Those of you who are in the hospitality industry right now, you understand why. Because right now, your source of income is drying up. Those of you who are in the restaurant business, those of you who are a lot of speakers are having issues. Now, those of you who've been going to National Speaker Association and other meetings, you already know that the economy was starting to slow down because the speaking engagements were starting to slow down, okay? All businesses have a business cycle, and we already knew, those of us who stay informed, you already knew you were entering a shift. But some people in their industries did not know that they were about to enter into a shift. And all of a sudden, this one's been thrust upon us. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with our 7 steps to make sure you survive COVID-19 financially. Okay, the very first thing I want to talk about before I even get into the steps is that you can. I promise you, you can get through this. Whether you just got laid off or you're having to manage 4 jobs for other people who can't work anymore, you can get through this. You know, I remember when I came home from deployment and my house was sold and my ex had taken up equity out of all of our rental properties. So I had $845,000 worth of divorce debt to figure out how to clean up. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I got through that. When the market crashed and all those properties were daisy chained together and I couldn't sell them. One of the, they were 32,000 upside down, 40,000 upside down. One of them was $220,000 upside down. But I'm going to tell you, I got through it, and you will get through this. I think about one of my early mentors, Sherman Ragland, who I was trying to figure out how to tag me and certain people in here, but I wasn't able to. He runs a very big real estate investment group in Maryland, and he used to tell the story about how he got started in real estate. Well, he was heavy in the aviation industry, and he had built a sizable company based on catering and consulting with aviation. Well, after 9/11, that all dried up and went away. But he wasn't one to sit on his laurels and say, woe is me. He knew he had to figure something else out, and he did. And someone else who I'm gonna talk about several times tonight, but I didn't get permission to use her name, who worked in the hospitality industry. She told me stories about how her and her mom and her sister and her brother and her father, all of them were in hospitality, whether it was travel, whether it was restaurants, whether it was hotels, whether it was tourism. I mean, they were all in hospitality at 9/11. And it all dried up. And they buckled down and did what they needed to do, and they survived, and they are thriving today. And I want to encourage you, you too will survive, and you too can thrive, okay? So hold on. I tend to talk so fast. I'm so excited about this. I wish somebody would have come alongside me when I was trying to pick up the pieces, when I was trying to pick up the pieces of my life. I wish someone would have come alongside me and tell me that everything was going to be okay. I didn't have anybody coming along and telling me that it was going to be okay, except for my faith in the Lord. And so I'm so thankful for my faith now. We'll talk about that a little later tonight. Don't worry, the pastor's not going to preach at you. This is a secular class, but I do believe that faith is important. Okay, so the very first thing that I want you to do as far as a step to overcoming this is to set your intention that you will survive this with peace and joy and emerge stronger. If you feel any doubt about that in your heart, then I'm going to ask that you visualize this with a written intention on your mirror. See, when we see something several times a day, it reinforces what we're seeing. And so it's not just about positive thinking. It's not just about affirmations. This is a method of auto-suggestion. Those of you who took the Think and Grow Rich class or who are currently in my self-image mastery class, you understand that we use this principle of auto-suggestion to change the way our subconscious feeds us things. See, if you, like many of us, were feeding into the hysteria and snapping up all of the toilet paper, or in my case, snapping up all of the ammo. I posted that meme, but I was serious. I did buy a little bit of toilet paper just in case, but I was more concerned about protecting my family. So, it's easy to get caught up in that. But we have to understand, if our mindset tends to worry, if our mindset tends towards anxiousness, if our mindset tends towards scarcity, then that's what our subconscious is filtering out to us every day. Now look, I'm glossing over this. We've got whole lessons on how to really change the dynamic of your subconscious. Okay, you can find those on buildingwealthtogether.com. But suffice it for this class today to say that if everything that's coming to you is negative, it means your mental filters are negative. And I can speak from this from experience. When I first became not financial planner, when I first became a public speaker, they tell you, get together positive stories so you can entertain your audience. And I was like, well, first of all, I'm a high D personality. I really don't like edutainment. I want you to give me the information I need so I can roll on, right? But even so, I understand the value of listening to my mentors. I couldn't find any positive stories, y'all. All my stories were negative. It wasn't I climbed out of $845,000 of debt. It was I came home and my marriage was over. My ex had found somebody else and run up all this debt in my name. Like I didn't look at the positive side of that. So my filters were negative. And if your filters are negative, and you'll know your filters are negative because when I said you're going to survive this with peace and joy and emerge stronger, you're like, oh, no. She's talking about somebody else. Or maybe when I said that, you were like, that's not possible. Or maybe when I said that, you don't feel like that's possible for you. Like it's possible for me and it's possible for her, and it's possible for him, but it's not possible for you, right? If any of those are true, then you've got to reset your mental filters. And the way you do that is by visualizing what you want to achieve. And for me, one of the easiest ways, a lot of people like to do vision boards, but one of the fastest, easiest ways is for me to just write down what I want, take that sticky note, pop it on my mirror, where I'm going to see it several times a day. And by seeing it several times a day, you consciously think about it. You send a message to your filters. I want you to send me information that reinforces this. Your filters send you information that reinforces this, and you begin to see more opportunities. This isn't woo-woo new agey stuff, okay? This is based in science, and it is a known fact that what we focus on is what we get. So if you wake up tomorrow morning, you're like, this is going to be a horrible day, you're going to attract a horrible day. You spill your coffee in the morning and you're like, oh, this is going to be the worst day ever. I hate today. You're going to attract a horrible day. That's just how it works. You get back what you put out, all right? So I want you to set your intention that you will survive this incident with peace and joy and emerge stronger. And if you need to, visualize it with written intention on your mirror, in your wallet, wherever you're going to see it several times a day. It'll help to reset your filters, just like mine had to be reset. All right, number 2. This is the one that nobody likes to hear, okay? So I didn't want to start with this one. Seriously, though, setting your intention is probably the most important thing you're going to do because right now you're stressed out and right now you're worried and you don't know how you're going to make ends meet. And I'm going to tell you, you don't have to know how you're going to make ends meet right now. All you have to know is that you will emerge from this stronger, that you will survive this with peace and joy in your heart, okay? Number 2. Decrease spending. Yep. That means we are not spending anything more than what we make. And if all we make this month is zero, then all we're spending is zero. Like, what? JJ, I can't not spend. My kids need to eat. Let me tell you something. When you have no money, you're going to find a way for your kids to eat. Okay? The ways will open up. I've been there. All right? The ways will open up. Now, I understand that it's not easy. Okay? But I've been there. You know, there was a time in my life where I went to 2 Bible studies and 3 church services every week. Actually, 5 church services if you count the 2 on Sundays at my home church, right? I went because they had free food and I was broke. And I would go to Sam's and Myers and Kroger's or Publix, whatever grocery store they had at that base. I don't remember where I was stationed at the time. But I would go and I would eat the free samples, and that would be my dinner. And when I fast forward a few years when I ended up broke again, I would go where the food was, and I would take advantage of people's generosity to help me. I would go to places that offered free things for military, and I got very good at finding, oh, this is horrible. I need to give these away. You know what? I might just do a Chuck E. Cheese giveaway with this. I still have a cup full of tokens from when I first moved here and I was a divorcee trying to figure out how to be a single military mom, and I didn't have any money, and I got into base housing and I couldn't even afford base housing, y'all. I literally couldn't afford it. I had to move off base and I was so stressed out. Well, I discovered that the local Chuck E. Cheese had all these bennies from military, and you just had to make a purchase. But it didn't specify what you had to purchase to get all the bennies. I think they've changed that policy now. I think it's like you have to buy food or pizza or something like that. But we would go just once a month or so to have some fun with my son. We would go and I would spend $2 on fries, and we would come out of there with pizza and ice cream and free tokens. There were other places all over town. I mean, it was amazing how many things were free for military. We would go to Cyport. We would go to the Jumpy place they used to have. We would go to all these different things, and it cost me nothing. And I want to tell you today, you can go to many places and get what you need, and it costs you nothing. At that time in my life, I remember some of you who are local here, you'll remember Shreveport Community Church has the Kid City. I think Broadmoor Baptist has More Coffee and a place, and I think First Baptist, I don't know if they still do, but before the fire, I know they had a place also. But I would go to Shreveport Community Church. I couldn't even afford internet. I couldn't afford internet. I didn't have TV. I didn't have anything. I had the cheapest little flippy phone, right? I just didn't have money. And so I would go to Shreveport Community Church, and this is why I love them so much. Even though I've started my own ministry, I would go to Shreveport Community Church, and I would sit in their Kid City, and my son would play around in the little indoor playground that they have, and I would do work on the internet, the free internet. I would do either schoolwork or I would try to build up my business. And every once in a while, someone would bring me over some free hot chocolate or a snack, or they would be like, "Hey, we accidentally made too much. Would you like something?" I'm so thankful for the generosity of people who saw a single mother struggling and took care of her. And there are people out there who love to help. That's why I'm making my classes available at no charge during this time, because I want to help. Now, if you don't make any money, if you don't make very much money, if you don't make enough money, we're going to talk in a minute about how you can make more. But trust me on this. If you decide today that I'm not making enough money and I'm going to have to go run up my credit card, that may have worked for you in the past, when you knew you would get paid a little extra next month and you could catch it back up. But many, many people come to me as a financial planner and they thought they could catch up, and next month they couldn't catch up, and the next month they couldn't catch up, and the next month they couldn't catch up. And now they come to me, they've already maxed out their cards and they don't know what to do. Don't be in that position, because now you've just added insult to injury. Not only do you not have any money to meet your needs, but now your credit is ruined, and it's going to be years of digging deep, and you might be facing foreclosure or bankruptcy. Make a commitment now that you're not going to spend any more money than you have coming in. If it means you have to do like I did one time and eat nothing but oatmeal for a week, so be it. If it means that you have to do like I did one time, y'all have heard my oatmeal story, how one week I had nothing to eat but oatmeal. But another time when I was coming out of debt, I discovered you can do a lot with a bag of flour and some eggs. I made pasta, homemade pasta. I made homemade Pop-Tarts. I made all kinds. You can make all kinds of homemade stuff with some milk, some eggs, some flour, and some salt. And because I made a commitment to getting out of debt and not digging the hole any deeper, I emerged victorious. And I promise you, if you will make this commitment, doors will open up over here, doors will open up over there. The doors will open up to provide for your family. It's a universal principle. It's not just a biblical principle. It is a biblical principle. And for me, that's my world. I understand for many of you on this who are going to watch later, it's not your world, but it's a universal principle that if you will live by this principle of not spending any more than you take in, you will be blessed. Now, the next thing, step 3, is going to be to prioritize the things that you need to buy and then buy it as you get the cash. Those of you who are my financial planning clients, you will recognize this as the basis of an irregular spend plan. Now, you notice I didn't talk about budgeting earlier, but we need to talk about budgeting, okay? I don't like the word budget. It feels and constraining to me. I like to shop, so I like to call them spend plans. My spend plans for different things let me know what I can do with money. I look at it as a sense of freedom. In this space, I can do whatever I want with this particular chunk of money in this particular category. And I make sure to have a category of stuff that's nurturing to my soul. Everybody's got to have a category. And I gave you several examples from my life back in the day of when I didn't have money and that category was basically zero. I think it was actually about $10 a month back then. $10 a month that I would allow myself to spend on what I called family fun so that my son wouldn't feel so deprived and he could do a lot of things. You know what I discovered though? There were so many free things available to single moms, not just single moms actually, because honestly, most people don't care as much about single moms, but there were a lot of things available to moms back then. And so I didn't even really have to spend that $10 a month. And I was able to use that for things like his birthday, for Christmas, for things like that. Okay? So we want to prioritize what needs to be spent. And the way we do that is through a spend plan. Now, if you know you've got a set amount of income every month, I encourage you to do a zero-based spend plan where you spend every dollar so you know very clearly what you're going to do. If you have income that you can't count on every month, that's when you do your irregular spend plan. And an irregular spend plan is a prioritization plan. So for example, I have my regular income, okay? I also have my side hustle. My side hustle brings in certain amounts of money, but I never know month to month what it's going to be. I base all of my living expenses on my regular sustained income, and then I base all the other things off of the side hustle. So for example, maybe you have been laid off, but you get a child support check. And you know you're going to get that check every month. maybe child support isn't the best example to use because who knows if you're going to get it, right? Let's say you've got some kind of pension coming in, maybe $200 a month, maybe $400 a month. And you know you're going to get that $400 a month every month. You would use that $400 a month to cover the basicest of basic living expenses, okay? And you would plan and structure that money out to make sure your four walls are covered as best as possible. Your housing, your transportation, basic food, and basic clothing, all right? Then you would use your other monies, your commission monies or other things, and you would create a prioritization plan. So you know you're getting $400 in this example. Let's say you earn another $50. Okay, you earn another $50. You go to your prioritization plan. The top thing on the list is buying, let's say, an oil change for your car. Then when you get that extra 50, boom, you knock out number one. Let's say number two on the list is repairing something that's kind of dangerous in the backyard. Once you earn enough money to do it, boom, you knock it off your list. Now, the problem with these spend plans can come for people who make irregular income or are 100% commission based because you don't have a cushion of money that you already know. When you're in that kind of situation, that's when you really have to get serious about your business cycles and what is going to come down the pike. And then when you have those high months, then you would siphon some of that money away. Now, I'm going to give you an example of that, but I'm going to acknowledge before I give you that example that right now, if you didn't already do that planning, this isn't going to really apply to you right now. But it could apply to some of you who still have income coming in, and that's why I want to give this example. Because if you know that next month you may not get any money, you will want to save what you have to make up for the fact that you're not going to have anything next month. All right. So for example, this is March. If you're in the flooring business, if you're in a lot of home repair, this is when your business cycle starts to ramp up. A lot of people painters weren't making a whole lot of money in January and February. Flooring people weren't making a whole lot of money in January and February. I mean, that was just like dead time, right? If you were smart, you strategized your business, but maybe you didn't know that. We all start where we're at, right? But now in March, it's going to start to take off. Maybe in April, it's going to start to take off. Those are the times to sock some money away because you know December, January, and February are coming. Now, again, I know that a lot of you were caught unawares by this COVID-19 and you maybe didn't put that in place, but now you know to put it in place for next time, okay? So if you're in a situation where you're in one of those businesses that has ground to a halt and you don't have any money coming in, I want you to book a free consult with me. You can go to jjconway.org and you can click the teal button that says Ask JJ/free coaching. You'll fill out a couple questions and it'll give you a link. Once you submit it, it gives you a link to book a no-cost consult with me. That way I can help you chart out a plan. All plans start with not spending any more than you make. Okay? So if you realize that you don't have enough income to cover what you need, then that's when we have to move to step 4. But before we get to step 4, I want to qualify what's a need and not a need, okay? Kids cheer camp is not a need. I have literally had people argue with me that they need to spend, a couple $100 on their kids cheer camp and they can't even put food on their table. Sacrificing for your kids is a virtue many of us as parents have. I have it myself. I used to really get frustrated when I would go shopping with my girlfriends who were moms before I became a mom, because we would go shopping for fun stuff and we would invariably end up buying stuff for their kids. It used to frustrate me to no end. Like, come on, we're supposed to have some fun. You're no fun. You're always shopping for your kid. Well, now I'm a mom and I get it. I totally get it. I don't like to see a look of disappointment on my kids' faces. But I'm going to tell you right now, one of the main things that helped me get out of all that debt, over $845,000, was making a commitment to not spending more than I make. And that meant stripping away things that weren't so important. You know what I discovered? I discovered that Christmas cards aren't as important as I thought they were. I discovered that all the little fun things for your kids aren't as important as we think they are. You know what kids really, really want? They want their parents to love them and to spend time with them. And you can do that for free. You know what else I discovered? I discovered that internet and cable is really not important. Now, I'm not going to tell you that you need to go do like I did and sit at the one spot at the Whataburger where no one could see you downloading the internet, or find that spot outside Panera Bread, or find that spot outside of Starbucks where you can still pick up a signal. I understand that that's not really kosher with a lot of people, but at the time I was broke and I had to do what I had to do. I couldn't even afford the $2 or $3 to go into Starbucks or go into Panera and buy a tea or a cocoa or something so I could legit use their Wi-Fi. This is why I'm very generous now. Like when I go to Starbucks now, I tip and I do all kinds of stuff because I remember how I was blessed through the fact that they had a resource that I could use during that time. This is why I'm a big fan of Whataburger. I've gotten a lot of work done. I had a landlord that refused to fix the internet even though it was supposed to be included. It was one of the reasons I chose that place because the internet was included. For 2 months, even though I was making money again, for 2 months, I had to sit outside Whataburger and use their internet. Sometimes I would go into Whataburger and use their internet when I had the money to do so, right? But I'm not going to say you have to do those things, but I'm going to tell you right now, the intensity with which you commit to not spending more than you make will determine the intensity with which you emerge from this victorious. It will also determine the intensity from which you transition your life from being in a position today where you're living paycheck to paycheck and being in a position 2 or 3 or 4 years from now where you have money in the bank. Okay? That's what I want for everybody who's watching this or listening to the podcast later, is to have money in the bank and peace in their heart. Okay? So, if you've cut all the costs you can cut, you have prioritized, you have made a commitment to not living on more than you make, then now, and you still don't have enough money, now it's time to look at all the available resources. And I emphasize all, even if it means swallowing your pride. See, you would be surprised how many people come to me as a financial planner. They've been laid off on their jobs, and I'm like, okay, have you filed for unemployment? Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't need that. And I'm like, but you earned it. It's been taken out of your paycheck all these years. Your employer has paid payroll into it, right? They have paid into the unemployment system on your behalf. It is literally your money. And if you are facing a layoff right now, go immediately to file unemployment. Don't wait, because what's going to happen is some of you are going to wait. You're going to say, oh, I got this. You're going to wait so long, and then you're going to go file, and it's not going to be there. You're going to have waited too long. Also, in certain states, like in Louisiana, the governor is offering certain benefits, but you have to file it by Saturday. Each state has different things, but each state is offering something. Find out what your state is offering and take advantage of it. Another thing to do is look at what can you sell. A lot of us have plenty of things. Those of you who were here when I was trying to get this set up, you saw I had a whole bunch of stuff in that background that could probably be sold. What can you sell? Physical items, services. Maybe you can create a class like this. Teachable's got a great thing. I'll put the link in the comments section of this when we get done. Teachable's got a great thing right now teaching folks how to create their own online classes. And they have a free account. You can get started with free. You got a cell phone, you can make a video, or you can do a teleclass. You can start for free and you can start making money. You got stuff all around your house you don't need anymore, sell it off. A lot of stuff we have, we don't even need, don't even use, still has the tags on it, hasn't even been opened. What can you sell? What can you return? Returns are another way to make money. Now look, don't be like somebody who used to be in one of my churches. She used to, whenever she had hard times, she used to bring stuff to the church and say, I'm donating this to the church. And I would every time I'd be like, well, I don't have a disbursement form on for you to be reimbursed. She wouldn't say she was just donating it. She would say she needs to be reimbursed for this thing that she bought for the church. And I'd be like, well, I don't have a disbursement form on file. And anything that's purchased for the church without a disbursement form is considered a donation. Now, don't take it to that extreme, all right? I want you to emerge from this with your integrity intact, right? But you know, if you've got a lot of stuff, don't be afraid to take it back. Dig up those receipts. You would be surprised how much you're spending on stuff. Like the other day, I bought swimsuits at Sam's Club. And because I always forget about swimsuits until it's warm enough to wear one, and then they're all sold out, right? So they had some really cool sporty ones, and I'm in between sizes. I've been losing weight. You know, I lost 20 pounds last year, and I'm on track to lose even more this year, recovering from these accidents. And so I bought the swimsuits, and I bring it back. In my mind, I wasn't even thinking about how much they cost. All I was thinking about is I really need a new swimsuit. I've been wearing t-shirts and stretch pants because I don't have a swimsuit in my size. All my swimsuits are from my old size, my pre-baby size. And when I returned it, I was like, wow, I didn't even realize, the one that didn't fit, wow, I didn't realize how much I spent. You know, when we're hard on funds, if you've got those receipts, take that stuff back. Go back, take it back, go get the cheaper version. Go get the version that, you don't get any version, but get your money back. You're not going to use it. Look, some of those clothes you bought, they don't even look good on you. Take them back. They got the tags still on them. Take them back. Some stores will let you take back stuff even if you don't have the receipts, okay? What can you back out of? And some people don't realize that, but you know, sometimes our obligations are what get us into trouble. And if any of you are like me and you really love to help people, you're always getting in trouble with the words of your mouth. Like, oh, I'll buy that for you. Oh, I'll donate that for you. Oh, I'll sponsor your event because I just love people. I love helping people. And I love being a part of people who are helping people. And I want to help them help people. You know, we have big hearts, but now's the time for you to take your big heart and turn that big heart towards yourself and your family. And if you've made some obligations that are really going to be financially tight for you, then I encourage you to just do what the Bible says. Get yourself out of that. If you have signed surety for someone, you've co-signed for someone, find a way to extricate yourself if you can. Okay? Because you have to look forward to your family's future. And once you've secured your family, then you can begin helping others. All right? So that's step number 4. Now, step number 5 is where we look at what we can do to earn more money. Don't tell me you can't do anything to earn more money. I get some people come to me and they are just like, oh, I'm so stuck. This is the best I can do. This is all I can do. If you're really doing all you can do to make money and you can't make any more money, then that's the Lord's way of telling you it's time to tighten down. Maybe you're walking through a season, but I genuinely find that most people who come to me as a financial planner, COVID-19 notwithstanding, most people that come to me as a financial planner actually do make enough money. In fact, I had one person who her husband was on disability and she had a very low paying job and it took her 5 years, but she took the principles I taught her and she got out of debt, 100% out of debt. Okay. So if you're in this situation now where your income has been slashed, your business has ground to a halt, you might feel like there's nothing I can do. I promise you there's something you can do. Now, it may not be something you want to do, but there is something you can do. There are people that have needs right now. Think about it. What is it that people need? People need folks to deliver food because they don't want to go out and get sick. People need folks to deliver groceries. People need folks to run around. You know, there are several ladies that I know in my local town that have a business running errands for moms who are busy professionals who can't go running around town. How much would somebody pay you to go stand in line for them at Walmart right now? To go shopping for them right now? To go pick up their laundry and their dry cleaning and all those things right now? There are job opportunities out there. Now, here's another one. Here's one that always cracks me up. I love to give this example because this is America, y'all. We can make money in anything, right? I know somebody who makes $80,000 a year scooping poop out of people's backyards. Literally scooping dog poop out of people's backyards because they're too busy to do it themselves and they let their pets run around. And this guy goes to their houses and depending on how much they pay him is how often he'll come. He will scoop the poop all the way to the bank, y'all. What is it that people need right now? What is in your skill set? I was talking with somebody in the hospitality industry, and she was telling me how she'd seen crashes in hospitality with Desert Storm, with 9/11, with the real estate bubble crash, and now she's seeing it with COVID-19. I'm like, you can consult with other hotels and management, because hotels are franchised. Each of them is generally speaking, most hotels are going to be individually owned. So you have a brand that you have to maintain. You got to maintain the brand standards, right? That's what, and you get advertising and you get connection to that franchise. But they're not telling you necessarily how to make it through this. You got to make it through on your own. Well, now here's a person who has weathered this storm before, who can go in and tell everybody how to survive, everybody in that industry. Maybe you've got something that you can do to make some part-time money. There are jobs out there, okay? And so one of our bonus sessions that I'm going to hang on buildingwealthtogether.com when I create this as a class out there, I'm going to put in the bonus session, I'm going to put how you can tell a scam job from a real job. So if you know that's something you're going to be interested in, looking for extra work, I encourage you to enroll in buildingwealthtogether.com right now. It's free to enroll. And once I launch this free class, you'll get a notice so that you can access it and you can get all these bonus materials I've been talking about. Okay. You got to look at what you can do to earn extra money. One of the people that I talked about earlier who had weathered this storm in 9/11, her and her family members all moved in together because they couldn't afford to live any other way. Maybe you can take in boarders. Maybe you can take in somebody else who can't afford their house, and then they're willing to you're willing to rent a room and help cover your house, okay? Whatever it is that is a service that you can offer, pursue that. And if you need some help being creative about it, let me tell you what you can do. You can book a no-cost consult with me. I'm actually really, really good at hearing your talents and your passions and helping you find out what you can do to make money. And this is a short-term kind of thing, but we don't know how long of a short-term thing. It could be a month, it could be 2 months. I've seen projections of being prepared to be on house quarantine. I was about to say house arrest, but house quarantine for 3 months. If you're on house quarantine for 3 months, how are you going to provide for you and your family? What can you do in the next 3 or 4 weeks to make sure you're going to be okay? Book the time with me and we'll sit down and brainstorm it together. No charge. I am here to help you. See, here's the thing. I have a big heart. I want to help God's people get through this. I'm not giving away money because I haven't been called to do that. But I will give away the tools, the knowledge, and I will equip you and empower you to make the changes you need to make. That's why this class is free. That's why the follow-on class in buildingwealthtogether.com is going to be free, okay? Because I want to help, but I'm not going to just give away money because that usually doesn't help people. What helps people is equipping them to make the changes they need to make themselves, all right? So now, that's step 5. What can you do to earn money? There's always a way to earn money in this culture, in the United States of America. Now, if you're watching me from international, that's something I can't really speak to. I can give you my best estimates for what works here, and you can try it. But here in America, there's always a way to make money, no matter what the situation. There were people who got through the Great Depression, and they built wealth. There are people who have gotten through the local recessions that we've had, and they built wealth. In fact, I remember a story about 2 different landscapers right about the time that the housing bubble burst. Because if people can't afford their houses, they're not going to pay for landscaping, right? You had one landscaper who was, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me, called into Dave Ramsey's show that I like to listen to from time to time. Woe is me, I can't find work. My life is over. I'm going bankrupt. Another landscape owner calls in, is like, oh my goodness, business is booming. I'm snapping up all the equipment from the guys who are going bankrupt, and I'm getting all of their accounts and all of their business, the ones that are still going. It all depends on how you set yourself up. And this week, next week, the week after that, this is the time for you to take action to make sure you're going to be okay. Follow these steps, all right? There's always a way to earn money, and I can help you find it. Step number 6 is going to be to look for the learn. Now, this is like step number 2. This is one of those things nobody ever wants to hear. Nobody ever wants to hear only spend what you make and spend less than what you make if you can afford it, right? Nobody ever wants to hear that. Everybody wants to push the easy button and build wealth without having to be disciplined and do effort. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. This is one of those that people don't like to hear either. And this is look for the learn. And the reason people don't like to hear this is because if we look for the learn and we'll be honest with ourselves about it, we'll realize that we could have been being prepared for something like this a long time ago. You know, I posted on my personal page, you're welcome to take a look at it. I posted a story by Bill Gates where in 2014, he talked about how we're not ready for the next pandemic. And he was right. And what he said there was so true. He said, if we will prepare now, we'll be able to weather any storm. But the problem is none of us really prepared. Our nations didn't prepare. Our government infrastructures didn't prepare. Our pharmaceutical infrastructures didn't prepare. Nobody prepared. And 6 years later, we're realizing that what he said was right. Similarly, in our lives, there is preparation that we can do. Now, those of you who have been living for a little while, you'll notice these things tend to come along every 7 years, every 10 years, every 5 years. There's a massive realignment of the market and of people's lives. You can actually prepare yourself to never be in the position of worrying about this again. You can get yourself in a position where you have emergency funds in your personal life or retained earnings in your business life. You can start doing that as soon as you emerge from this. Because you can look for the learn that says, gee, if I had had retained earnings, my business wouldn't be afloat. If I had retained earnings, if I had a 12-month emergency fund, I wouldn't be stressed out about how am I going to pay my rent or pay my mortgage. So I want to encourage you to look for the learn. What is it that you can learn from this? You know, one thing that I've learned from watching these things is that there are precautions we can take. For example, all of us, when this whole thing first started, we could have checked our household medical kits. Make sure we have all of the kind of medications we might need if we weren't able to go get something. When we heard that everybody was wrapping up all the toilet paper, we could have gone to the store and bought the things they weren't caring about. We could have made sure that we had our emergency kit, that we had firewood, that we had a flashlight, that we had water on hand, that we had all those things. Those of us who live in climates where you have natural disasters, a lot of times we kind of dust that kit off. And so I'm very thankful that I had just made sure that my tornado kit was good to go. So I didn't have to stress about what happens if the power goes out, what happens if we have to be in our house for a couple weeks. I didn't have to stress about that. I was already prepared. And we can look for the learn. See, the reason I can say that now is because I remember driving through a tornado. Technically, the tornado leaped over me. I remember that, and I wasn't prepared. I looked for the learn back then, and today I'm prepared for an emergency. Now, of course, we don't know what's going to happen. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to you that I'm prepared for everything. But I'm as prepared as I know how to be. And if you'll look for the learn in this, then the next time something happens, you will also be prepared as you can be. You know, the Proverbs 31 woman doesn't worry about what's going to happen. She doesn't worry about the weather. She doesn't worry because she knew she had prepared for her family. She had stockpiled what she needed to stockpile. She had prepared goodly clothes. She had the skill set she needed. She looked well to the running of her household. She wasn't worried when calamity came. And I don't want you to be worried when calamity comes. Okay? Step number 7. And this is the one that I knew was going to be a little contentious with people because this is a secular broadcast. But I am a pastor. My faith is a very important part of my life. And step number 7 is to always appreciate the power of faith. Maybe I should change that to say allow room for faith. I think I got that from a class somewhere. Oh, that's in Think and Grow Rich. Allow Allow room for faith. Let me just that actually comes from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich class. Allow room for faith. It's one of the steps, but it's true. You know, many of you have asked me, "Hey, how come you moved out of the mall so quick? You were there one week and you were gone the next week." And we had been negotiating our new lease since November, and things just kept not working out, and it just kept not being right, and it just kept not being right. And then I had an opportunity to retire from the military, and I went ahead and said, "Well, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, let this, and this happen, and then I won't renew my lease." And all those things happened, and I didn't renew my lease. And then a week later, it was like, "Oh, we're gonna have a delay with your retirement, by the way." And I'm sure with the COVID stuff, it's totally delayed. But I got this notification that I'm not gonna be retiring like I thought I was after all. And I was like, "But Lord, why did you have me do all this? I just don't understand." And so that week, I'm literally moving out of the mall, like, "But Lord, all the things I prayed about were in line, and you opened the door, and this and this and this, and then it all fell through, and now I'm moving out, and I don't have anything." I'm gonna tell you all two things. One, as I was moving out, more and more leaks developed in the sanctuary and fellowship hall space, classroom space. And if I had not moved all my stuff out, my projectors and my equipment would have been ruined. And second of all, if I had renewed my lease, I'd be paying money on an empty building right now that I can't use, wasting God's money. So, I was led, my faith led me to move and to make some changes that are paying off today in this time of coronavirus. Now, I'm not going to say one way or another, but I remember a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, before I even heard about coronavirus, I wanted to buy this and I wanted to buy that. And every time the Spirit kept telling me, "No, don't buy anything right now. You've got something else coming down the pike that you're going to need your money for." And I was kind of disappointed because I was like, "Man, we're finally rebuilding our savings from the 2 car accidents, and we're finally getting to where we have some breathing space." And I don't just tell you guys this stuff. Like I practice what I preach. We had the car accidents, we had this happen, we had that happen. I tightened down the hatches. I had to use my emergency fund, and then it was the process of rebuilding that, and I'm in the process of rebuilding that, right? So I absolutely practice what I preach here. And I was like, finally, we're getting to a point where I could feel a little bit of breathing room. And then the Lord tells me I can't spend any money because something's coming next month. Well, it's next month. And I'm so thankful I didn't spend the money on those frivolous things. Now, I'm going to give you one last experience of allowing room for faith. And this isn't financial, but this is how I combat all those people that want to tell me, "Well, you're a scientist. How on earth could you possibly believe in the God of the Bible?" Okay? I'm going to tell you how I believe in the God of the Bible. Because twice now, the God of the Bible has warned me of something, to do something. And it's something I will never forget. And the first time was with my grandmother. When my grandma used to call me, we didn't have a very strong relationship growing up. So when she used to call me, it was just random chit chat. And I just always assumed she was like the rest of my family, always very critical of what I do. And I just didn't want to hear any of that. So when she called this one particular day, I was like, "I'm not going to answer that." And now granted, she never was critical of me. It's just, I always kept the conversation short so we wouldn't get to the critical part. If you got real critical family members, that's a really good tactic you could do. Just keep the visit short, just keep the conversation short, because everybody's nice for the first 5 minutes, right? And then you get into the criticisms. Well, if you cut it off, you don't ever get to the criticisms. But this particular day, I felt it so strongly. It was so overpowering. You need to answer the phone. You need to answer the phone. That I almost pulled over. I was driving on the highway. And so I answered the phone and I put it on speaker. And we had the longest conversation that I've ever had with my grandmother. Ever. And I kept wanting to get off the phone because I needed to get back to work. And I just kept, the Spirit just kept saying, "You need to talk to your grandmother. You need to talk to your grandmother. You need to talk to your grandmother." And y'all, that weekend, she passed away. And had I ignored that call or had I cut her off, I would be living in regret. Now, granted, I believe in self-forgiveness, but I know that would be something that would have taken me a long time to recover. Similarly, those of you who were in Think and Grow Rich last fall, You might remember a class where it was really heavy on me. You need to reach out to your dad. You need to reach out to your dad. You need to reach out to your dad. And I'm like, well, I'm in the middle of a $299 class. I can't just stop this class and reach out to my dad. But it was so heavy on me, y'all, that I said to the people on the line, I said, look, I hate to do this. I know this is unprofessional, but I really feel like I need to reach out to my dad right now. And I reached out to my dad while I was alive. And so I texted to him, and I didn't get a hold of him in that moment, but the next day he responded to how he was proud of me and how much he loved me. And 36 hours later, I got the call that he was gone. And I think about those kinds of incidences, and I think of all the times that the Spirit of my God has led me this way or that way, where I don't have any data, I don't have any scientific data to explain why I felt like I needed to answer that phone, or why I felt like I needed to halt my class and reach out to my dad. I cannot give you any scientific data. But I can tell you, I will never doubt that the Lord is with me. I will never doubt that the Lord is with me. And so if you are struggling right now, if you are overcome with a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety, if you're worried about how you're going to make ends meet, I encourage you to take these 7 steps. And if you want more information about any of them, even about allowing room for faith, as I almost feel like I need an altar call now, like anybody want to come to Jesus, come down and let me lay hands, right? But if you want more information about these things that I'm telling you tonight, then I encourage you to reach out. Go to jjconway.org, click that teal button that says Ask JJ, fill out the questions. When you hit submit, you'll get a link to book your schedule right on my calendar at a time that works for both of us. That's all I have for you tonight. I thank you for spending your evening with me. Y'all take care and be blessed.